Hey, what's up? How you doing, guys? Welcome back to more CSGO news. Hope you're all doing well. Some crazy stories do continue, and it's only Tuesday, which is pretty sick. I love having great videos this early on in the week, so I hope you guys all do enjoy. Let's get into our first story, though, still around NIP. This being around the NIP and Get Right story, the controversy around the organization. I'm sure you guys have seen plenty of videos on that. This being, though, now, after last night, I was kind of digging a little bit back into this story. We actually found out NIP has now removed their previous post, which they did state in that. I think they also announced during this same post Plopsky's replacement, that being Golden from the former Cloud9 for the major, because some issues Plopsky played with a different team for qualifying. In that same post, though, more importantly, they talked about moving Get Right away from an active role in the team into a new possible role inside the organization of NIP, possibly a management role, maybe an analyst. Who knows exactly what his role would be, but they actually talked about replacing him on that current roster as soon as they found a suitable replacement after the major. That post has now been taken down. Ironically enough, we found this out, and of course you look back yesterday or a couple days ago and Get Right said on Twitter himself he was not retiring after the major. This draws many questions out there, which I will ask you all right now. What is Get Right doing? Where is he going? Does he want to play with NIP after the major? Does this mean he's going to stick it out with NIP, or does this mean he's going to a new team if possible? And if that is true, who is taking this man? And I know I said that last question a bit aggressively, but also you have to ask yourself, on top of all the questions we've already talked about, if he does go to a new team, not only who does want him right now in this current set, who could utilize him. I'm sure there are plenty of teams, let's not get that wrong and jaded, but along with that, he also has come out, and we know this for sure, him alongside Forrest are now partial owners in NIP, so I'm sure the question is now being surfaced, can he play for another team out there while also having partial ownership or shares in NIP? And the answer so far throughout CS history does seem to be yes. We look back at Cajunb when he was formerly a part of the Astralis lineup. As many of you guys know, they let their players own shares inside the Astralis organization, which apparently Cajunb might still own. We look back to a Q&A he did with Astralis, or Astralis did do themselves, and apparently when Cajunb left that roster, he was allowed to keep his vested shares inside of Astralis. Now, of course, Astralis has now been sold by Refresh to different holding groups. I'm not sure how this affects things, but it's very weird to see, and bring this back up to light. Is this allowed in any other esport? If Cajunb is still playing for other teams out there, obviously has just joined Optic Gaming, if he is still playing for other teams and still has ownership in Astralis, is that allowed in any other sport in real life or in esports? Because let's say it's a conflict of interest, which I think it might be. Let's say eventually it's Astralis versus Optic Gaming with now Cajunb on their roster, and they somehow make a grand final or even a major final together. Obviously a bit more far-fetched when it comes to Optic, but either way, let's say Cajun's facing off against his old team who he has partial shares in. If they were to win that major or that grand final, would their value increase enough where it'd be worth for him to lose to them? Probably not. But the fact is this, the issue is still there if it is true. Now, I'm not sure if Cajunb still does own his shares, although according to that Astralis Q&A, he never had to sell them. So it's very weird to have that players can actually play for different teams and still have ownership in other teams. Now, it might be a conflict of interest more so if you have ownership in several teams. Maybe they allow you to have ownership in at least one team. It's just a weird concept to think about, and I'm asking you guys if you think it's morally okay for that to happen and continue on. So that does draw just an overall question. If Get Right does leave NIP, will he have to sell his shares, or will he be leaving NIP? They've now deleted the post where they said they're going to move him to a different role, and he has said he's not retiring. So we have two options. Either Get Right is playing for NIP after the major, or he's playing for a different team that he wants to go to. That story will continue. I'll keep you guys all posted about that, because it's pretty crazy. And speaking of former Cloud9 players, that being Cajunb, let's talk about a current one, that being TenZ. This guy is seemingly nuts on anything that has to do with aiming quickly or aimbot servers, guys. Two different challenges this past weekend, the first of which apparently breaking the professional current pro record out there for the Aimbotz challenge, that being killing 100 bots. Now, there's a bit of debate, a tiny bit of debate about how he did this, because there are different strategies about how you can actually go about the Aimbotz challenge of killing those 100 bots. He did so, though, in just over 33 seconds. The dude is a madman and apparently sets a current pro record out there. Alongside that, though, Betway also did their own Aimbotz challenge, which TenZ placed second in to a Turkey 5 member. I have not talked about Turkey 5 ever since the 6 members joined Turkey 5. Again, we don't really know why they call themselves that name. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see Furious actually from that roster takes the number 1 spot. TenZ takes the number 2 spot just behind him. So they did their own little challenge there, and it was pretty cool to see these guys go off this past weekend. So will this carry over though? Is this the Cloud9 prodigy we have waited for? Well, it doesn't hurt to see these kind of things in these Aimbotz challenges, and it's also very cool to see this guy putting out the Krieg, I believe is what he did use, and yeah, almost 3 kills per second. Frick. Also, a quick little update yet again. We're going to talk about this, guys, in reference to the ESPN interview that Coldzera did a couple days back. Now, with that, he did reveal he has 4 offers currently. Now, the debate currently is as well, with the K tweeting out this, guys, is a debate of what an offer really is, right? If it's an offer between players, doesn't really matter, because when it comes down to it, I'm going to trust these journalists, because Thorin has also replied about this, and you know, general knowledge out there, when it comes to player-to-player terms, they really mean nothing until the organization actually makes that offer. So it seems, according to K sources, no organizational offers have been made because of a pretty atrociously high buyout price for Coldzera. So as of right now, those 4 offers seem to be talks between player to player, which generally means very, very little. Although, yes, we're probably very high hopes he will be signed eventually. Currently, his buyout is pretty ridiculous, and so time will only tell who actually will be able to make that offer, if they will make that offer, or if all those teams out there are kind of in a conjunction and say, hey, let's wait this one out and not pay MIBR any more money. So a very small story out there, guys. I do believe Coldzera obviously has interest from at least 4 teams out there, but it seems currently right now only to be player-to-player talk, aka Coldzera, Nico. Talking a lot. And very lastly, in CSGO news for all of you, Tarik posted this video yesterday. If anyone's going to question this, guys, it's a bit of a bait, okay? The only line that's actually talked about is Mo during this 17-minute video. I will link down below for all of you guys, but don't get your hopes up. God dang it, Tarik. I don't know why you're doing this, man. To all of us NA hopes out there, Ska is probably not coming back, but when Mo during this actually asked him what his number was to come back, pretty much Ska just says, hey, let's talk off stream about this. I don't want to lead anybody on. Like Tarik just let all of us on. Okay, guys? So yes, it was a bit of a bait. I really don't care. His video will be linked down below for all of you. Just don't get your hopes too far up about Ska coming back to NA CSGO. As always, my name is Jake, breaking down esports and CSGO news here all day long. If you guys want to stop by later, I think I'm going to do a story on Phantom Lord and Dingle Derper, because I thought they were done, but I don't think they really are. So yeah, we'll talk about that sometime soon. As always, I hope you guys all enjoy. Take care of yourselves. Be real. Be nice to people. I'll see you back here sometime soon. Until then, goodbye. Make a man out of you. Let's get down to business.